been a while since I've made a how-to video. But today we're going to be rewiring this whole car from scratch, basically, with a wiring harness that I bought off Temu for 130 bucks. The wiring harness is pretty good, actually. It's got it's written on the wires what they are, every like 20 centimeters and stuff like that. The fuse box and stuff like that. It's got what the fuses are all written on it. It's actually quite good. Now I'll show you the shit show down in here. This is just me mounting, going where the fuse box is going to go and pulling the harnesses through to their desired sections of the car. Basically it's split up into 4 sections. You've got a front section, which is the engine bay. You've got the rear section, which is obviously your tail lights and all that type of stuff down the back. And then you've got a dash and instrument section. Accessories, you know, like your gauges and your ignition switches and all that type of stuff. So anyway, we'll just get into it. I'll pull this harness through and I'll show you what it all looks like. We're just pulling it through. Going to be mounting the box up in this section here. So yeah, I'm just pulling the tails through, which will just leave the fuse box. The fuse box, which is going to get mounted sideways up in that little hidey hole there. I'm mounting there. I'll obviously make that better and sits in there better once I've finished all this. But as I said, they come in separate, like they separate them out to different sections, which makes it a lot easier. So this is going to be the front section. You see it's written on here on the wires itself: choke, left front park, start switch, horn, all that. So that's the front harness. So that's going to get pulled through to the front. There's the front section pulled through. They're still separated too, so you've got the main lot of them taped together, and then they separate off again with tape sections, which help you out. So this section here, what do we got here? Alternator, exciter, coil, positive, choke power, horn, and this section here, ignition switch, start, so that'll go down to the starter motor, high beam, so that goes one side of the bloody car, that will, and then we're left with tacho, oil sender, temp sender, fan. So these are sensors, these things. Fucking no one goes over there because a lot of mine's in through the EFI system anyway, so I probably won't be needing majority of those. What I've noticed with these wires, how they're already pre-separated between each other and taped off to individual little harnesses again. I've noticed that I think it's pretty much designed around American vehicles. So basically, I'm just going to split the wires down, cut them back, and then re-harness them out again to the left side of the car, the right side of the car. You know, like, so sometimes starter motors are on the passenger side, sometimes starter motors on the driver's side. So in this one, my starter cable is joined to my left-hand headlight side, but my starter's on the driver's side, so they're opposite. So I'm going to split these harnesses down, re-tape them back to specific sides, and that should tidy it up. We'll see how we go. So I've split the wires out. Also ran it through my grommet there, and so these are my engine sensors into alternator, and these are my lighting harness. So they're going to run their own harness down through here. I've already made a lighting harness already, so they'll join into that. And then these other ones, sensors and to the alternator, they'll be all conduited and they'll go to where they're going to go. That was pretty simple. I just went through the wires. It does say in the instructions to go through your wire and harness and pull out the wires that you don't need. It'll save time. Anyway, I fucking didn't, and I pulled them through, and then I separated it. I don't know, I just feel comfortable doing it that way than to, let's just say that I did all that on the bench, and then I pulled all my wires through, and I might have fucked up, and then I can't find a wire because it's not in the main harness. That was originally how it was designed. I'd rather bring everything through, everything to the back, everything there, and then I'll run through the wires and then pull them back out of the harness and leave what I need. So that's the way I've done it. Now, my engine, gearbox and everything is standalone, basically. So it's already all wired in standalone how it is, for starting and an EFI and stuff like that. So there's a couple of, few of the wires that I don't actually need. Plus, it's not a coil, it's not an old school car either. So those things are gone. So like fan control, coil, positive, tachometer, all that type of stuff. That's all through my EFI system. So I don't need that. The only wires that we've got coming here in the engine bay, the alternator, exciter, alternator power, temp sender and oil pressure sender, which I'm using analog gauges for those. So I need those. And the other harness is just my lights, left, right, indicators, low beams, high beams, and parkers. Pretty simple. Now, let's move on to the next step. Righto, second step for me was to run me the rear harness through. So I'll just tape them up nicely. They're just going to run through all the way through the underneath the skirting of the car, you know, like where the normal harness went. So it runs all the way through there, into the back here. That'll be all tidied up. So that just separates that harness away from the main lot. Then we'll, so that harness there has my lights. So, reverse, brake, indicators, number plate lights. It also actually has, the dome light, in this section as well, which is the roof light. It's real long wires. It's got the roof light in this harness. It also has, which funny enough, the harness goes to the roof light through the roof, the standard one. And also it's got my fuel gauge wiring and fuel pump. Now, I already have the fuel pump whatever, but I've just tied it into this harness coming from the front there. I've already had that. I don't want to separate that wire because it's a heavier duty wire with the EFI system than what this setup is. You could run a standard car and everything like that. That's fine. But like with the bigger pump and everything like that, and the higher pressures that I'm running with my EFI system, I need a heavier gauge. I'm actually probably going to put a relay in the back there and grab power straight from the battery instead of relying on this wire to make it a little bit better off at the back there, because you do actually lose fuel pressure at the higher RPMs when the battery voltage kind of drops or when the fuel pressure is needed. Anyway, all fucking mumbo jumbo stuff. My next step is to tackle the switches and stuff like that inside here, the wires and all that, like indicators switch, your fucking headlight switches and all that type of stuff. Now, because modern cars have so many different fucking wires and shit like that, it's really hard to find schematics for them sometimes. And because like I'm ripping out everything in this fucking car, so it doesn't really matter if you just chop wires and do the old school testing. So what I'm about to show you is the headlight switch here. Now this car comes with auto headlights, fucking fog lights, front and back, all that type of fancy-wancy, which I am not using at all. So all I want from the headlight switch is parkers and headlight. The parkers and the tail lights will run with the same switch circuit, and obviously the headlight has its own circuit, and then the high beam has the different circuit as well. So the quickest way for me to do this was to cut all the wires, strip them back, and do the old continuity test, and I'll show you what I mean. Strip all the wires back, as you can see. It's fucking like 6, 7, 8 wires or whatever. And it's Parker's headlight. So all I need to work out basically is the continuity. I've got it set to 2000. Fucking, I am going to do this. So 2000, touch the little fuckers together. Fuck, this is going to be harder than I thought one-handed. Touch the two little fuckers together and you get a reading, right? Anyway, I've pretty much just worked it out. So much easier. So, black. Put that there for a second. So, black wires, and I think it was white. Yep. And brown. Is it white and brown? Yeah, white and brown. Now, turn it back one, so that's headlight, and obviously parkers go at the same time. But white doesn't do it now. So it gives me white. This is why I don't do fucking YouTube videos. So that gives me white as my fucking low beam trigger wire and brown as my Parker trigger wire. And because my old gauges were already hooked in for illumination, pink is my illumination wire for that switch just there, which kind of helps, but also powers up my gauges as well. Lights on. Cool. Let's move to the next step. Once again, I've done it with the turn signal wire in here. I'll just cut the wires, bang, like that. Now, left hand continuity, and the black goes to light blue, and the right hand goes to dark blue. And also purple with a white stripe is my high beam. The rest are cruise control stuff, which don't need. But there's two black wires. One is specific to the turn signals, and one is specific to the high beam circuit. But anyway, I'll work through that. Once again, continuity test. Fucking saves going for reading and looking for books and shit like that. Now on to the next one. So I come up with a bit of a dilemma with this wiring harness and that. So this is designed around a GM, old school stuff, and they have individual circuits. So when your indicator goes to the left, it has an individual circuit for the left hand front, it has an individual circuit for the left hand rear, right hand front, right hand rear, hazards, blah 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 blah. Now, this vehicle is a CAN bus setup, so up here at the indicator stalk, it only has one wire for left and one wire for right, which they're really tiny wires, so compared to these big phone. So they're really tiny wires, so we can't just fucking go, oh yeah, join all your fucking lefts to there and all your rights to right. I don't trust it, so I'm going to create a couple of relays, and that'll be able to give that wire a little bit of breathing space, so it'll trigger the relay, and it'll be a 5-pin relay, and then I can connect my left's fronts and my left's rear to two terminals on the 5-pin relay, and that should do the job. Yeah. Oh, I've run out of time this weekend. Anyone that's following along on this wiring setup for the burnout car, it's all done. It's all connected in and stuff. Just gotta put the fuse panel back up inside and just connect a couple things. I've got to connect the front lights and the back lights. And then I've got to do some investigating and see what's going on. So I also made a couple of plugs and harnesses. This is me, like my switch set up down here for ignition and stuff. So, and obviously, so my dash and stuff. So it works at the moment. So dash lights up. Trace that wire back and just see what's going on with that. My indicators don't flash, so I've got to figure out that one. Got the indicator lights come on, so there's power there. Yeah, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But, that'll be another day. I've got to catch a train now. So obviously I'm not a YouTuber, I'm not very good at making videos, but if you want me to go more into depth with something in that video, I'll do a part 2, as in with everything completely put away, like the final job. And but yeah, if there's something that you just don't understand that I can go more into depth with, because obviously it's a bit hard to go into depth with everything, otherwise it'll be like a 2-hour long video. But say like the negative switching relays and all that type of stuff, the wire, the circuitry, how it all happens, how I created it, and where it all connects to and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, that's a cheap harness installation and dilemmas.